Hello students, so today we're going to look at section 7.5, which is on rational exponents and radicals. What you're going to want to have on you, your notes, a pen or a pencil, and then you're probably going to want a calculator today. So some new notation that's going to come up today. A radical versus a rational exponent. You've seen radicals before. Those look something like that. A square root is an example of a radical. So there is going to be this 12 and this little x on the outside. The square root symbol that you've been so accustomed to seeing, this thing right here, that is what's known as a radical. So you're going to want to draw this in your notes here. So that's a radical. The little 12 inside, that's what's known as the radicand. And that little x out there, he's known as the index. So some ideas just to give you, so when I'm saying the index is 3, you know what I mean by that. And then rational exponent, you've seen this before. A rational exponent basically means it's a fraction. So 9 to the 1/2 power, the 1/2 is a rational exponent. So how are roots related to rational powers? So let's look at here. 25 to the 1/2, well, that's 5. If you try that in your calculator, you would get 5. 36 to the 1/2, that's 6. 49 to the 1/2, that's 7. And 64 to the 1/2, well, that's just 8. So you're probably thinking, Miss Marsh, how do you know this off the top of your head? Well, let's think here. How is 25 related to 5? How do we know 25 and 5 are related? That's the question I would be asking myself right now. What about 1/3 power? 8 to the 1/3, well, that's 2. If you try that on your calculator, you'd get that. 64 to the 1/3, that is 4. So you're really starting to think, Miss March, how do you know this stuff? How do you know this? Well, rational exponents are related to radicals in a very simple way. If you have x to the 1/2, actually what you're doing is you're taking the square root of something. So the radical is going to look something like this. The square root of x with a little index of 2 on the outside. We just never really put that index of 2 there. It's accepted that it's there if it's not there. So that would be the square root of x. X to the 1/3, that's the cube root. You probably haven't seen a cube root before. That is the cube root of x. So our little index is 3. X to the 1/4, that's a 4th root. That is 4th root of x. Looks like that. Little index of 4. So these are always going to be little tiny numbers in the front there. That's all fine and dandy. But what about 8 to the 2/3 power? That's going to take forever for us to figure it out. We're just going to have to put that in our calculator. Actually, you don't. You can change from radical to rational exponents simply. So you're going to have 8 to the m over n. This is when you have a rational exponent, right? What you're going to be able to do is you can make this a to the 1 over n to the m. Remember, you can always multiply 1 times m. That's how we got that way. But we kind of want to break it out. A to the 1 over n, well, we were just talking about that. X to the 1/2, that was the square root of x, right? So we can change this into the n root of a to the m power. So we're going to use this and practice changing back and forth between radical and rational. So what about 7 to the 1/2? We want to change to radical notation. So we want to make this into radicals. So 7 to the 1/2, that is the square root of 7 to the 1st power. So the numerator is always going to become the power on the outside. The denominator is always going to become the index. Same thing here. Big number goes underneath. Denominator, index, numerator, power. Let's keep going. Cube root of 2 to the 5th power. This one, we're going to put our radical in. We're going to have 7 underneath there, right? Our index is going to be, that's right, 3. And then I'm going to have it to the 4th power. Now let's look here. Notice how this 6, and we have an x this time. Notice how the 6 does not have a 3/2 with it. So he's just going to sit out in the front, just kind of hang about with that x. Now let's convert this x. So we're going to have x underneath, 2 as an index, all to the 3rd power. All right? What about 32, x to the 1 to the 3rd, all to the 1/5? Well, if you remember, we're going to give that exponent to both of them in the inside. So we're going to have 32 to the 1/5 power and x to the 3 times 1, 3/5 power. Because remember, you're multiplying there. 32 to the 1/5. If you look on that gold card I gave you, and I'm going to explain a little bit more tomorrow about how to use it. 32 to the 1/5 power. If you look under the 5th power sign, you see 32. Follow to the left, and you will see it's 2. 32 to the 1/5, that's just 2. So we can just leave it like that, and we can simplify this. So this is going to be the 5th root of x to the 3rd power. Just like that. All right, so we went one way. Let's go the other way now. So we need to write this as a rational exponent. So we need a fraction exponent. That's what they're saying. So square root of 10 to the 3rd power. Remember, if they don't give you a little index here, that is just a 2. Just hanging out right there. So let's convert this. Our base, our radicand becomes our base. And then we're going to take the index. Remember, he was our denominator. So our denominator is going to be 2. This is our numerator. So 10 to the 3/2. This one, it's just to the 1st power. We just didn't write it out there. So we're going to have 2 to the 1/6. This one, notice how it's 4th power, or 4th root, 5th power. So remember, your denominator is always your index. Numerator is always the power. Just like that. 2 to the 1/3 for that one, because it's just to the 1st power. That's why I have a 1 on top. What about this one? What do you think that one is? 10 to the 1/6. That is indefinitely correct. Now, this one's going to be a little difficult. Let's figure out the inside. Let's convert the inside. So that's going to be 8 to the 1/3, x to the 2/3, right? Because it would be 2 times 1/3, 2/3. This is still to the 7th. 8 to the 1/3, if you look on a gold card quick, the cube root of 8, if you go all the way to the left, 2. So we're going to have 2 actually there. And this is still all to the 7th power. So let's give that 7 to both of them here. So we're going to have 2 to the 7th, x to the 14 over 3. 2 to the 7th. If you try that on your calculator quick, you will get 128, x to the 14 over 3. Just like that. And that is the end of this video. See you later, Sabers.